You are listening to the Smugglers Galaxy Podcast, my favorite podcast to listen to on long flights across the galaxy.
This is the way.
We're wanted men.
Welcome to episode 189 of the Smugglers Galaxy Podcast, your favorite Star Wars podcast for smugglers in the galaxy. It is Glenn and Jason's with me, and Jason's a little nervous because we got to make this show up as we go along. And even though they're some of our best shows, Jason is just like, I like having a plan, and we have no plan today. So
yeah,
just go for it. So
just go for it.
Yeah. So if Jason sounds a little bit perplexed this morning, that's why. Plus, it's
also I'm coming off of 2 days of travel, so if I sound a little groggy, that's why.
Yeah.
Went down to Jacksonville to do some video and photos, and on my way out of town, on the way to the airport, I did stop by the Forgotten Toy Box or the Forgotten Toy?
Oh, where's that at?
It's in Jacksonville. It's just a little hole in the wall. But it's packed to the ceiling with toys. I was a little they had a decent Star Wars section. I think this doesn't help our audience, but Second Chance has a bigger Star Wars section. They didn't have as much vintage. It was more of modern stuff. They had like one Rubbermaid, maybe like 6 inches deep and maybe about 2 feet wide of modern open stuff.
Did you dig through it?
I did. I didn't see anything I needed. And then they had a wall of carded stuff, a lot of vintage collection, a lot of modern vintage collection, and obviously all the older vintage collection stuff from the first release. Those are selling for like hundreds of dollars. And so I went through everything and didn't see anything I needed. They had the Black Series section, but I did overhear them talking about how Hasbro keeps canceling stock for them. So I wasn't part of the conversation, but I'm assuming because they didn't have the Hera and the Darth Revan and the Orson Krennic figures, that it's all part of the same wave, and that was the wave he was talking about, how Hasbro keeps canceling things. So something's going on. Maybe they're pulling back production because they don't want stuff to end up in Ollie's, and it's just not a good look for them to see so many figures at Ollie's.
You think?
But yeah, I think if you see that Hera and you need it, grab it now, because it's going to start increasing in price soon, because they did a short, what do they call it? A short run with Crosshairs, the Black Series one, during the pandemic, and now he's selling for like $100.
Wow.
He's a tough figure to find. And so if that's the case with this Revan and Hera wave, grab it now before prices start soaring. I would highly recommend that.
And that had the chopper in it too, right?
Yes. I haven't seen Chopper in a hot minute either.
Right. I saw Thrawn the other day, and maybe I should have. Is he part of that wave? Thrawn?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember if he was that wave or the following wave.
Okay.
But
I was tempted to pick it up just because I'm not a mint on card guy, but it would have kind of been fun to have a mint on card, but then I'd have to collect everything else mint on card, so I didn't pick them up.
you could have just the one. You don't have to have a full collection of mint on card Rebel figures.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't matter because Thrawn's the only. Are they releasing those on Rebels card backs?
Probably. They haven't announced anything yet, but I mean, it's Hasbro, it's repaints, it's repacks. They'll do it.
Right. Well, and it's just the only one I know of would be the Kanan, because Ezra's from Ahsoka and Zeb is a deluxe figure.
Right.
So
Probably should order
anyway. Huh?
Yeah, I probably should order two of those. I know some of them are sold out now, but they'll come available again. Those will be the ones that I'd want to open and put on the Ghost.
Right. Oh, that set. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably should. I probably should pick up that Hera too.
Yeah. But it's not, it's, you're going to have different eras of
Eras
Rebels
of
figures.
Heras.
Yes. Eras of those figures because Hera's from Ahsoka, Ezra's from Ahsoka. Kanan's from season 1 of Rebels. Zeb's from season 1 of Rebels. Chopper doesn't matter because it's Chopper, and then Sabine, the deluxe Sabine, is from Ahsoka.
Different eras of Heras. I don't think you heard me.
I did eras of
Oh, okay.
Hera's.
All right.
Yeah.
Then I guess it wasn't that funny. Never mind.
Sorry. You made a joke. I should have stopped and been like, Jason, you made it funny.
No, it's all right. Uh, I'm not that
Yeah, just like
shallow.
when I say doo doo.
Do you said it again.
I was watching TikTok before we recorded this morning, and it's another doo doo joke, but I think it was the Phillies and the Pirates playing, and so both their symbols are P's. So you would have P00P,
Yeah.
so poop, but then they changed the Phillies logo from the P to the Liberty Bell. So somebody was mad because he's like, I want my poop game. And he didn't get it.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Well, they had C-3PO that one time because it was
Yeah, I saw
the
that
Reds
one.
and the Pirates.
Yeah. Um, outside of that, or right next door to that forgotten toy, was a Walmart, and I stopped in there. They didn't have anything, but they did have 4 pegs full of Lando Calrissian vintage collection figures.
I
Four,
was
four full pegs, like maybe 8 figures, 9 figures per peg.
oh my God. Wow.
Yeah,
So you're talking like 30 or 40.
yeah.
Wow.
Lando Calrissians.
I was talking to somebody, and their theory behind that is the fact that all of that wave has the same SKU number. So people are looking at it and going, "Oh, we have full shelves," not realizing it's one figure. So they're thinking they have a selection of figures when it's just one. So then they're not ordering anymore, and then it bites them in the butt because they have 40 Landos sitting there.
It's possible. It's also, if that's the case, I mean that figure is about 4 years old now.
Right.
And so they should be able to, I mean, the SKUs have moved on. There's new SKUs, so they should be able to see that we've got this one SKU that's been sitting on the shelves for 4 years.
Unless they keep just recycling that SKU for all the waves.
Maybe. But that Rogue One wave of Black Series went down to 3 cents at Walmart to
Oh yeah,
clearance
you're right.
clearance that out. They should do that with the Lando and just clearance that out. I mean, I see Masters of the Universe going on clearance. It's like, why not the vintage collection Lando?
Right. I mean, that's when I grab my Masters of the Universe because it'll go. I pick some up from Five Below for like $5 a piece.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, do I really want to pick these up when they're on clearance? But they're cool figures, so I just do it anyway. But yeah, that's when I wait. Because I unless it's one that I really, really like and I want to pay $20 for, it's still $20 for that figure is a steal on the Masters of the Universe stuff. But when you can find it for clearance, it's that much better.
I also, during my shopping this week, I did stop into, was it a Target or a Walmart? They had, I think it was a Walmart. They had one Series 5 blind box sitting on the shelf, unopened.
Yeah,
And
did you
like,
buy it?
yeah, I did. And
What was it?
it was the Mandalorian on the little cruiser. I think
Uh-huh.
this is from the Clone Wars. It's a Death Watch, though. It looks
Yeah.
like it could be the Boba Fett body just repainted.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that.
But
So
there's multiple colors on the helmet, so I think they've done a great job painting because the visor's black, and then there's some blue thin detailing around the helmet. I don't think I could pick it up with the camera. You can see some of the blue,
yeah, I can see that there's blue and silver and stuff.
but they've done really well uh painting these things now and getting more detail on the bodies than they did with Series 1. So kudos to them for that.
Yeah, somebody had posted the Boba Fett, the Leica Bantha one, and they were like, I don't recognize this guy. So I found the Leica Bantha gift and
Oh,
posted it. And everybody thought it was funny, but then like everybody else was giving him crap for not knowing what figure that was. I'm like, if you're not paying attention to what's going on, I mean, it was 5 seconds in
like
in
a
one episode.
banda. Yeah.
Ted, that's for you, buddy.
And then I did pick up that bongo from Target this week.
Yeah.
No sticker.
Yes. No
They put
sticker.
they put the sticker on the bag.
Oh,
So I appreciated that. And it's in great condition.
awesome. Yeah, I
But that's
haven't.
all
Go ahead.
that's all I picked up.
That's all you picked up. I haven't made. Work has been kind of hellish this week, and I've been riding with people, so I haven't had a chance to really make any stops. And when I did have the one day that I'm by myself, I wasn't near anybody, and I'm trying to make up for lost time. So I haven't been able to look anywhere. Plus, I'm still aggravated at that. I'm not going to collect that run, so why bother looking? And haven't seen any really cool stuff lately.
Yeah.
I did the other day. Well, one stop I stopped at a Walmart and I saw this lady. She was on her phone and digging through the toy aisle. So I'm like, you're a scalper.
Mm-hmm.
So a reseller or whatever. So that was kind of fun watching that. And I kind of got upset because she found the Micro Galaxy Squadron stuff before I did. And I'm like, please don't let there be something in there. And thankfully there wasn't.
Okay.
Because I had found that they had some hanging up, and then like underneath the shelf, they had some more, and I missed the ones that were underneath.
Yeah.
She found them before I did, and I would be a little upset if there was something cool there, but there wasn't.
I did see.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The way that it really feels like they're packaging the chases together and shipping them to stores.
Yeah. Yeah, because I did see on the Micro Galaxy Squadron Facebook group, someone posted that they had like two or three of the blue 5,000, limited 5,000 hologram X-Wings, and then like the Shadow V-Wing.
Mm-hmm.
He had those, and he said he was a Hot Wheels collector, and he's picking these up, and he wants to trade for Hot Wheels. And I'm like, dude, we're Star Wars. We don't care about the cars. It just goes to show, it's like we're it's extremely frustrating when you see stuff like that happen, because it's just like, I just want to collect my Star Wars. It wouldn't happen if they didn't have the chases and rares. Have confidence in your line and just make the vehicles. Stop chasing and raring.
Right. But I think that's their game, because they do that with every line they have.
Yeah.
It's not just Star Wars. Every line that Jazzwares has chases and rares in it.
I promise next week we won't complain about this.
Next week we'll be too busy planning Rogue Fun, I think.
Probably.
What is no? Trying to think what happens next week. I don't know. Nothing. And then the week after that is like, it's like right there, Jason.
It's like right there. It's in your face.
Because it is.
Let me
Yeah.
When this episode drops, we're 2.5 weeks away.
Dude, that's crazy.
I got to finish up 2 games for the variety hour, and I got to take photos of the participant gift and send those to Mark so he can make a video to kind of announce it during the opening ceremony.
Yeah, it's scary, because I'll go down to my collection room and I'll spend like a half an hour just like, this guy needs to be turned just a quarter.
Oh, I did. So yeah, I got to dust. I got to clean my garage. I got to clean
I still gotta run the vacuum down there, because there's a couple of spots where dog hair is collected, and I'm like, ooh, that doesn't look good.
I don't have a weed whacker, so I borrowed one from my mom. I got to cut the grass and do that. So it's going to be a busy weekend for me. But when I was down at this conference in Jacksonville for work, catering was 40 minutes late.
Oh my God.
And I just don't understand. Like, there was something else that happened recently where I was in attendance and catering was late again. So I need to make sure that, they're ready at the specific time, because of, we've got the variety hour in the middle of dinner, and we can't have people leaving the room if we need them to volunteer and come up and play games. So
Right.
got to make sure to watch that. Lessons learned.
Lessons learned. Well, I mean, I think we got a good plan, and if people are wanting, I mean, we're going to already kind of plan on people that being a very fluid hour, the variety hour, so we'll just plan around it.
Mm-hmm.
What was I thinking? Oh, I did. You were talking about yard work. I finally got my septic tank redone, so that was fun. So the guy had quoted me between $4,000 and $5,000. It ended up being $7,000. because
Oh, lovely.
yeah. So it's like,
Lovely.
well, every time he turned around, something was going on. Like something happened, and it was just like, whoa. So, we thought we were gonna have to record in person today because he was like, "Oh, I hit your internet," and I'm like, "Dude, there's no way you hit my internet," because I saw my internet go down, and I was like, "You either hit power or you hit internet," and he thought he hit my internet cable because I had an old cable in the ground. But when they did fiber, they flew it. It's everything's on in the air, and then I get home and I have no power. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Because it's just been a comedy of errors. It's been a month trying to get this thing done. And every time they hear something happens. So thankfully, I went and I looked and they had to put a new pump in. And I guess they shorted something out and then it tripped my main breaker. And it would have been nice if they just said, hey, can we go check your main breaker? You
Right.
might have tripped it. And because nobody was home yesterday. So yeah, I got to do yard work today. I got to put grass seed down because my whole front yard. I mean, they did a great job, but I got to go try to clean up some cables and put grass seed down. And in my backyard, it's one of those you pull in and you don't pay attention to your backyard, and then you pull in and you see how tall the grass is, and you're like, oh crap, because we've been getting a lot of rain, so
Yeah.
it made the grass grow. So there went $7,000 for. But my toilets are flushing like a freaking champ right now, which is great. Instead of them being like, I think I want to flush, they're like, flush, you know,
Nice.
which I don't know if you Zoom pick that up or not, but it's great to see that everything's are actually working. Um, so anyway, yeah, I did, as far as pickups go, these are things that I had forgotten about last week. So I made notes so I'd remember. Our buddy Sam's heard me talking about toothbrushes, that I picked up a pack of toothbrushes, and he was like, hey man, did I imagine this or did you really pick up toothbrushes? And I guess in a lot that he picked up, he had the postcards that because they send you dental reminder postcards as Star Wars. So he had a set of those that he sent me. So that was awesome. And so thank you for that, Sam. And then I picked up some Galactic Heroes prototypes off a Deal or No Deal. Guy had them for, I can't believe I picked them up for what I picked them up for, because they're normally going for like $100 a pop. And there's a guy, I guess is he in China? The guy that always posts prototypes.
Yes.
And he had three of them. He had two Star Wars and then a Hulk. And I'm like, I don't care about the Hulk. So I threw like a $30 offer on him and he jumped on it. And I was like, dude, I'll pay $30 all day long for three
Is,
prototypes.
is it Yoyi?
I think.
Yeah, I think he's a she.
Oh,
I think.
I don't know. I never,
I haven't either. I just heard that,
but
and I trust people.
right. No, but it's very interesting dealing with the person. They've come a long way, but like the first couple of transactions I've had with them, the English hadn't been that great. And over the couple of years that I've been dealing with them, it's gotten better. Or maybe it's multiple people. I don't know, but
Mhm.
the stuff is always trustworthy, and it's cool when you can grab them. Anything else?
I don't have a lot in news. It was confirmed because of the Disney shareholder thing that the Mandalorian is coming out in May 2026 and the Rey movie's coming out December 2026.
That's still
So that's
pissing me off.
that's happening. But uh, Ewan McGregor's been making the rounds. He's got this of Moscow or Gentleman in Moscow show, and he was talking about Kenobi and how that TV show is supposed to start in a much darker place. Obi-Wan was going to be drinking a lot and being a waiter and getting into brawls and bar fights.
That
And
would have been awesome.
yeah, it would have started in a darker place, which is weird to say because he was already in a dark place. So to make it that much darker would have been kind of crazy. But
Yeah.
he also said that the end scene when he gets emotional with Darth Vader, when he's sliced open the Darth Vader helmet, and you can kind of see Anakin, that was much more emotional than the script had written it.
Uh-huh.
He just felt like it was right for the moment to be there. He also said that whenever Hayden was on set, there'd be like 100 people all of a sudden showing up to see Darth Vader, which is pretty awesome. But I think it would be an interesting exercise to take the 6 hours of Kenobi and try to parse it down into a 2 hour movie.
That might be cool.
I think I would, if I were to do it, I would remove a lot of the, is it Riva
Yeah.
storyline? I felt like that was just a little too much. A lot of the Kenobi stuff. I think anything when you get away from Kenobi, I think it kind of drifts a little bit.
Mhm.
So I think it would focus more on Kenobi, Darth Vader, and Leia. I think those would be the way to cut that down into a 2 hour movie.
Yeah, it'd be cool. And speaking of that scene from Obi-Wan Kenobi when he cuts open Darth Vader's helmet, what a better way to celebrate it than to turn it into a Christmas tree ornament.
Is that happening? Is it just the helmet?
No, it's that scene where Darth Vader is on his knees and Obi-Wan is standing above him and the helmet sliced open. They turn that into a Christmas tree ornament with sound for $35.
Yeah. Is that all they made into an ornament this year?
No, they made a ghost.
And
They made the ghost,
what else did they make?
and they made a Sabine and a Thrawn.
Is that the extent, those four ornaments of their
No, I've got it pulled up right now. So anyway, I got a story to say because I was sitting there at work in the office trying to close out my paperwork for the day, and stuff's going on. So I'm just scrolling my phone, and the email comes up that the things that the wish book is out. So then I go in there and I see the ghost, and I audibly gasp, and everybody's like, "What's wrong?" And they were just like, "Oh, it's one of your toys." I was like, "Yeah, it is the toy. It is not just a toy. It is the toy." So, yeah, that was an awesome. I'm glad they did the ghost. I'm glad to see the ghost is finally getting some respect. Um, and if you look at the ornament, it's colored more like it actually says Rebels 10th anniversary, the ghost ornament with sound. So that's awesome. Oh, it's got sound. Oh, it is painted more. I wanted to look at the paint scheme versus the Jazzwares paint scheme, and it's the same paint scheme. So maybe Jazzwares paint scheme was right. Anyway, let's go over. So they did a house with the musical with lights and music. I had a smaller version of it, but now they did a tabletop version. There's a C-3PO and R2-D2 with sounds and lights. It's got a bunch of Christmas tree lights on them. Then there's the scene of Obi-Wan and Darth Vader that we just talked about. There's another Grogu. Imagine that.
Mhm.
This one's cool. There's Darth Maul on his speeder bike with a probe droid. This is another one that's kind of cool. They did a Darth Vader 12 back. So I don't know how it's going to look, but it's a carded Darth Vader figure ornament. So I'll have to see that one in person to decide if I'm going to get it or not. There's a trash compactor scene with lights and sound for $70. So I'm assuming that's going to be more along the lines of the Jabba the Hutt. Mandalorian with the dark saber. That's probably a must get for me. The Ghost. Then they did a bunch of sounds. I guess these are on sale. I think these are left over from last year, where they were talking to each other. There's a Leia, Luke, Darth Vader, Ben Kenobi, and then a C-3PO and R2-D2. There's yet another Grogu, Qui-Gon Jinn, Cad Bane, which I'll probably get that. There's a stocking hanger. It's actually a set. It's a stocking hanger set, and it is the trench run. So you put it on your mantle, and it's the trench run to hold your stockings.
Mm-hmm.
Those are expensive though. That's like $100, but I don't know if it's one. It says set, but they only show a picture of one.
Well, I'm sure there's four of them then if it's a set.
Yeah, which would be awesome, but it's a lot of freak. Oh, includes you got to have a power cord for it. There's a Funko Pop of Leia. Looks like when she's doing Help Me Obi-Wan Kenobi when she's talking to C-3PO or R2-D2, sorry. Padme in her Phantom Menace, the maroon Naboo stuff where she's shooting a gun. Then there's a mini Millennium Falcon. Oh no, the a Rebels of Star Wars, like a of Star Wars Rebels, not the cartoon Rebels, but like a Rebel insignia with an X-wing stocking, a couple of Bad Batch mini ornaments, a mini Millennium Falcon, and then there is yet another Trench Run hanger set. So the Trench Run hanger sets are $100 a piece, and there's two of them.
A healthy offering from Hallmark this year.
Yeah. I would like to have the Trench Run hangers, but that's not going to happen. And then I mentioned, Sabine and Grand Admiral Thrawn from the Ahsoka show.
Mm-hmm.
So exciting time. I think they normally come out in July. So that'll be a healthy credit card bill when those come out.
Yeah, have fun with that.
Yeah. Do you not collect them?
No, I get the ornaments, but I usually get like one or two a year, and then whatever's on clearance afterwards.
I
get
like playing that game.
I get the one that I really want, and the rest I just. So I don't know. Maybe Hera and Thrawn might be the two that I buy.
You mean Sabine?
Yeah, sorry, Sabine and Thrawn might be the two that I buy, and I'll get the Ghost on clearance.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants that chip.
I know. I have a feeling the Ghost will be on clearance too, just because I think they'll overorder it and people will be like, "What is this?" Unless the HasLab will help out with that. I don't know.
It's very niche. You have to be a Star Wars. Well, I guess Ahsoka too. So, but they made the Zeb ornament years ago, and that was the only Rebels ornament they've ever made.
Right.
Up until now with Sabine and I guess Ahsoka last year, but she's more for her show than Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Ahsoka is part of the Rebels, even though she is. But yeah, you're right. I think she's her own figure or her own person in the Star Wars universe. You can't really tie her to a show because she's in everything.
You can't.
You can't. Hey, Jason, do you want to do some bad jokes?
Sure, let's do it.
So here we go. I'm just going to read two of them, and I'm just going to open it up to a page.
What page did you open up? You can't.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand this one. It's what is the Jedi archive that makes everyone sneeze? The statue. Oh, okay. So what is it in the Jedi archives that makes everyone sneeze?
The statute of limitations. I don't know.
The statues.
Oh.
Sorry, I had to read that one twice. That one's okay.
That one's not bad.
All right. So why was everyone in the Jedi Temple exhausted? They had too many sleepless nights.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That's not a joke. That's like, there's a Dark Lord of the Sith and they're trying to figure it out. Of course they're gonna have sleepless nights. I mean, that's not.
And that was page 66. You think that page would have had some good stuff on it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, so the Jedi Temple has an air freshener system powered by the Force.
Okay.
It makes sense if you think about it.
I'm thinking about it.
This is so bad.
Yeah.
Force ghosts don't like the rain.
Why not?
It dampens their spirits.
Okay.
It really is. Like you said last week, it's like, wait a minute, there's a dad joke. Let me twist it around and make it a Star Wars one.
Well, some of those I feel like work. The statues is probably one that you could work anywhere.
Right.
Why do the people of Rome sneeze all the time? Because of all the statues. Like, it's not uniquely Star Wars.
Yeah, no, it's not. I'm sorry. This thing's bugging me, so I have to fix it. I know you don't hear it on Zoom, so I don't care.
So here's an ethics question. Not that this is happening or this is even in the realm of possibilities, but if you had 40-year-old plastic beads and you inject those plastic beads into a vintage mold, is it repro?
Yes, because it's not, even though everything is right, You're still doing something. It's still modern.
But it's not modern. I mean, the only thing modern is the plastic is the same age as the plastic.
And maybe it's not repro, but maybe it is crap. Not bootleg, but custom. But I don't think you could justify and say this is a vintage figure.
Well,
Even
I'm
though
not talking
everything.
figures. I'm talking about weapons. I didn't even think about the figures, if that's
Oh, you're
even
talking
possible.
weapons.
Yeah, because it's the weapons. Like with the figures, you need a production line. You would need to paint things. You would need there's a lot more involved with the figures. With the weapons, it's just like there's your mold, inject it, have a good day, you've got a new weapon.
Yeah, I would.
It's just an ethics question. There's no one's really doing this as far as I know. And
Right.
from what I've been told, I believe most of those molds ended up as anchors for ships, or they were just dumped into the sea, so they've been rusted over, and very few remain.
Oh, I would still consider it repro, but you probably would not be able to. I'm sure there'd be ways to tell. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I would definitely rule that as a repro just from an ethics standpoint. Because that's something that's come up a lot because I've had arguments with people over stickers because they were like the glue you would use to put the stickers back on the machine on the parts or on the vehicles is not vintage, so then it's not a vintage it's a repro at that point because you use modern glue to put a vintage sticker back on a vintage machine or a
Yeah,
vintage part.
yeah.
um and I mean that's how ridiculous some of these I mean I don't it's crazy, and I understand people wanting in the Star Wars universe, and I'm agreeing to a point that we do need to keep stuff as mint as vintage as possible without messing with things. But then you see like the GI Joe guys, nobody cares. GI Joe will go and somebody will sell a part, and it's a repro part, and it looks just like whatever, or you could get the pants, or they're making all kinds of accessories for GI Joes, and nobody cares. But in Star Wars, you have somebody that reprints
You don't
but
have,
and they freak out. But you know what? It just hit me. Maybe it's because in the GI Joe world, nobody's trying to fool anybody.
no one's trying to fool, no one's trying to be an quote investor.
Uh-huh.
Like grading is a thing in GI Joe, but that's not what people are really after. They're not buying things and grading it and turning it around like they do with Star Wars.
Mhm.
So I think that plays a part in it.
So people have turned Star Wars into a business
Yeah.
or into an
Yeah.
investment.
Yeah. And
So,
now
but
and
yeah,
now because of that, they don't want prices to come down. And it's really just a seller driven thing. Like the buyer is the one that gets screwed over because they've was it last week I said during 1978 they made 43 million figures.
right.
That's not a rarity. That's pretty prominent. So like a Luke Skywalker figure is available in almost every toy shop you go to, and they sit there because they're $75. It's a $30, $35 figure.
Yeah. I think I paid $20 for my first Luke Skywalker, and I was like, "Oh my God." I mean, but this was when I'm just starting collecting and it
Right.
was also a time when $20 was like maybe $50 is now. So yeah, you're right. It is. Gosh, I'm trying to think. I know the most I ever paid for a figure, a loose figure, was my Taiwan Fett, which is a variant, and it was like $400. But it also
Hmm.
came with the blaster. That was another, the blaster alone was like 120.
Hmm.
And that immediately went get graded because I'm like, I need to encase these two things together because I don't want to lose a $120 blaster because it's so small. And
Yeah.
then it graded an 85, and then it went from a $400 figure to seven, eight, maybe even 1,000 because it graded an 85. So, I mean, I can definitely see, the investment thing. And then I've talked to other people who are like, I only display my figures with repro weapons because I don't want to lose a $125 blaster.
Right.
Um, And I've seen some of them. I don't know because you remember that lot we went through that one day. You could tell everything was repro because it was done so badly.
Right.
So I guess I don't have a problem with it if you're not trying to fool anybody. That's my issue is when you're
Right.
like, oh, this is a 19, when you have a blaster that's legitimately worth $120 and somebody makes a repro of it and said, this is a $120 blaster, but I just made it in my bathroom. You know, that's when there's an issue.
The other question I had, and we'll have to be, and then we can move on to your thing, but to take this seriously for a minute, I know it was a joke, but in E.T., there's that scene when E.T.'s going around Halloween and he sees Yoda
Yes.
and he starts saying home, home. And then George Lucas, as a joke, inserted E.T. into episode one. And I know it's a joke between Spielberg and Lucas, but at the end of the day, it changes things to, is E.T. really a Star Wars movie? I mean, E.T. can pick things up and with telekinesis. I mean, that's essentially a Jedi trick.
Yeah. But how many are you going to go to all the movies that have telekinesis in it and be like, it's a Star Wars movie or
Well, not every movie has a cameo like E.T. in episode one.
right? I
It's a joke, but at the same time, it's like, well, did you just inadvertently make this a Star Wars movie?
I mean, you could have. I could definitely see that, which is, gosh, you made me think this morning, Jason.
Sorry.
That's not good. No,
Stop thinking.
it is. And what's funny is my wife collects ET. She's, it ET and Gizmo is her jam, and then it's the Ewoks. But uh, wow. I mean, I think they're in the same universe because somebody was saying in Cobra Kai, Johnny Lawrence is always he's like keeps talking about Iron Eagle, where he just loves the movie Iron Eagle. And then when you look at it, his three of his buddies from the original Karate Kid are in Iron Eagle. So it's like, is it just a subtle nod to
Yeah.
Spielberg or is it the same universe type thing?
So what would have to have happened was that Star Wars happened in a galaxy a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. E.T. left that galaxy, came to our galaxy. Meanwhile, they made a movie based on the stories told because Elliot does have a hammerhead and a Greedo figure that he shows E.T.
Mm-hmm.
And E.T. should be like, oh yeah, I know these people. Because he comes from that universe.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Because he knows Yoda.
Yeah.
I think growing up as a kid, I always interpreted that there was some creature that E.T. knew that looked like Yoda.
Uh-huh. I mean, that would make sense.
I didn't take it literally that he knew Yoda.
Because well, no, think of it this way. He could know Yoda, but not know Hammerhead.
I guess. But Yoda's species more rare, I think, than a hammerhead.
But what if he went to Dagobah?
Well, Yoda was the only one on Dagobah.
That we know of, maybe.
There's three species that we know of.
Uh-huh.
Yaddle, Grogu, and Yoda.
Right.
There are three of those species that we know of, and they seem to be very rare.
I mean, he could have known Grogu. Maybe it'd be funny if he'd be on the Razor Crest one day. Maybe E.T. was on the Razor Crest when it got destroyed.
Well, then E.T. wouldn't be in the universe because he's dead. Well, it was just more of a thought experiment. It was not supposed to be taken too seriously.
Oh, but yeah, man, you had to make me go there though, dude.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. But yes, gosh, how do you explain that? Because they were senators.
Yeah.
So that means they had a planet in the same planet as whatever solar system or whatever equals the Empire.
Yep.
And maybe E.T. knew him. Maybe Yoda went and visit their planet one day,
Quite possible.
Yeah.
But when George Lucas sold Lucasfilm to Disney, I think there was a stipulation that said they can't explore where Yoda comes from.
Really?
Or name the species that's supposed to be eternally hidden, obscured.
Mm-hmm. But then they have Grogu.
Well, we don't know where Grogu comes from. We don't know his home planet. So I think it's okay to have more of that species. I think they can't say where Grogu comes from.
Okay.
They can't show his homeworld.
That'll be kind of a bummer if we don't see it. I think they eventually will see it though.
Well, not if it's written in the contract that they can't disclose that.
Well, he also sold them the sequel to trilogy. He's like, here's what I want for the sequel trilogy, and they poo-pooed on that. So maybe they can poo-poo on Yoda.
Then be out of contract. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Anyways, you had a topic?
I did have a topic. So when we were, and I meant to bring this up last week, and yet again I didn't make notes, and you forget about it. But when I was at the show, the Powder Springs swap last week, I ran into a guy that I hadn't seen in a minute. Probably been about a year since I seen him, and I'm like, dude, what's going on? And how you doing? And it's the typical, you BS your way through the first half of the conversation. Work's been hell, and finding new jobs, and blah blah blah, and just been busy. And then he just looks at me and gets really serious, and it's like, I'm like, well, dude, you still can come to the meetups. He goes, seriously, dude, I'm really pissed off at Star Wars. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, I'm pissed off at Disney. I'm pissed off at Disney Plus. I'm pissed off at Hasbro. And he was like physically getting jumpy and like getting pissed off. I mean, you could just look at him and be like, it was real, he wasn't making this stuff up. He was real about being mad at Star Wars right now. And it was just like, he's mad at Hasbro for the repaints. He's mad at them for repacks. He's mad at Disney for the stuff they're putting out, and I'm just like, I wonder how many people legitimately feel like this. I mean, is this why Star Wars has dropped off so bad? Because there's a ton of people that feel like this. This isn't, it isn't a one person problem. It's a Star Wars problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it
It's
was
possible.
just, yeah, I was just, it was like, it was the first time that I've had an honest conversation with somebody who was that pissed off with Star Wars. I mean, we all get aggravated with it, but
Well, what were his reasons?
um, he was mad. I mean, like, he's mad at the repaints. He didn't, repaints, repacks, nothing new, as far as Hasbro goes. But they're not being imaginative right now. And then as far, he didn't like any of the stuff Disney was putting out. He didn't really, I don't think he really went into it, or I don't remember his reasoning behind it, because I was just so taken aback by it. It took me, because he was just so serious with it. You know what I mean? It was like, it's true. I'm mad. He was really, truly mad about it. I just don't think he didn't connect with Ahsoka. He didn't connect with, any of the cartoons or Bad Batch. And I don't know if I don't remember if he was wanting, it to tie back to the Star Wars saga or not. I mean, not Star Wars, Skywalker saga or not. But it was very disheartening. I felt for the guy,
Yeah.
because this was a guy who was very active in the community, because he kind of came out of nowhere and then he just disappeared.
Yeah.
And that's how the conversation started. I was like, man, I'm sorry. I should have reached out to you. I got to get better at that, because, you do have people that come and go out of things. And that's when he just went off, and he's like, dude, I'm just pissed off. I'm pissed off at Star Wars because I don't like anything they've been doing lately. And I don't know if he's mad at Disney because of Galaxy's Edge. I'm like, it just really opened my eyes to realize that this could be a real big problem for Star Wars if people are walking away because they don't like the direction things are going.
Yeah, I have to be careful because there's a couple things that I don't want to say and have people misconstrue. I think first and foremost, Star Wars stopped being the creative vision of one individual and became an IP.
Yeah.
The minute it sold to Disney. So it became a piece of property. It wasn't a creative vision. It wasn't a passion project.
Right.
So that does change things. And like you just said, minutes before, they decided to throw away the creative vision of that one individual and go their own route, because that goes to show that it's our property now. We can do what we want. We don't have to listen to the person who visioned it in the first place.
Right.
The toy industry is a shrinking industry. It is a dying industry. I think time after time there's been articles to show that this year the toy Q4 for Hasbro has shrunk down 20% from year's end of last year, or whatever the case may be. But story after story just goes to show that the industry is shrinking. So I don't think there's room for creative, especially when you have shareholders. There's no room for creative thinking.
Mhm.
You really have to try to please the shareholders. You don't have time to take risks.
Right.
And so that's going to cut back on production. It's going to do things like what I mentioned at the start of the show, where Hasbro's cutting back on production and sending figures to toy stores because they don't want it to end up in Ollie's, and because it is a shrinking industry. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah. No, it is disheartening. Like I've been saying, I said that like 5 times, but no, it makes me wonder. I mean, and we've had this conversation before. It's like I understand we're in a dying industry, and I'll talk to my daughter about my grandson, and it's like, hey, is he playing with his toys? And he's like, no, he'd rather read, which is awesome for him, or he'd rather go play outside. I'm like, wow, as far as it goes for him, I'm excited because he's reading, and he does enjoy Lego and he enjoys Star Wars, but it's like third on his list of things to do, third or fourth. So he never gets to it,
Yeah.
But I know some kids, instead of reading, they want to play Xbox or play their handhelds or whatever. So, yeah, I think toys is a dying industry, especially when it comes to little kids. So it is, we're the ones keeping it afloat, and, what's going to happen?
I think you're going to see more of this. I didn't have time to think about this beforehand, so I'm thinking of this now. But I do think there's some people that feel like they've been abandoned by Star Wars. As Star Wars grows and they start to add new content, they get further away from the original trilogy, which is the thing that resonates most with people. I think you saw that with the prequel trilogy. Some of those original trilogy fans said, "Not my Star Wars. My Star Wars is the original trilogy."
Yeah.
And now you see that with the prequel. People 25 years ago who saw the prequels for the first time, they love that, and they prefer the prequels over the original trilogy or the sequel trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And Harrison, my son, he grew up with the sequel trilogy, so that's going to be his Star Wars. But I do think, like, as we get more and more content and the content doesn't resonate with people, and Disney and Hasbro start to ignore the original trilogy, people are going to feel like they've been abandoned because they need to support the new content. They need to make the Ahsokas. They need to make the Skeleton Crew, the Acolyte. And there's just no room in the production line to add a Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're limiting your figures because they're cutting back. So instead of making 40 figures, you're making 20, and 15 of those 20 figures need to support new content. I'm just making these numbers up.
Well, no, I get that, and I understand, and I agree. Excuse me.
You're getting choked up.
I'm getting choked up, literally. No, I agree with that, because that's another thing that people gripe about. It's like, you're not supporting your new content. Yeah. But yet people want a new Luke Skywalker, but then they gripe because, we already have 50 Luke Skywalkers. We don't need another Luke Skywalker.
Right.
I think they did that with Boba Fett, because it's like, how many repaints of Boba Fett can you get? And I love Boba Fett, but I only bought a couple of them because it's like, I don't need a bunch of Boba Fetts.
Right.
And it's also disheartening when you go spend $20 on a TVC Fett and you see it 6 months later at a show for $5.
Yeah. I mean, even Jordan yesterday posted that Black Series for $7,
right.
Boba Fett.
And it's a repaint. I mean, it looks great, but I think I've got the clean version of that. And I'm like, I don't need the dirty version of him, even though it's $7, because you have to stop at some point. But no, huh?
You do? You have to stop?
If you want to buy other things.
No, I was listening to the Vintage Rebellion real quick. I was listening to the Vintage Rebellion.
Uh-huh.
And they were talking about the host of the what was it? The Skywalking?
Not Skywalking Through Never.
No,
that's a
Generation Skywalker.
Okay.
One of the hosts passed away from cancer, and he was in hospice care leading up to the inevitable.
Right.
And he was in the bed at hospice ordering Star Wars figures, things that he never had, which I thought was just touching. It was just like, nope, this is the thing I love, and I'm doing it until the end. And I
Wow.
think that was beautiful. So you don't really have to stop
No,
at the point.
I don't want to stop collecting, but I'm having to get particular with my collection because I'll go and I'll look at my wife's collection and she'll, instead of spending $20 at a time, she spends $100 at a time. So she'll go buy a minimum card, or she'll, instead of, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I see
instead of
what you're
having,
saying.
so I'm getting pickier with my stuff because I want it. It doesn't bug me, but it bugs me. I'm not like, oh my God, my wife probably has 20 or 30 men on cards. I have like 3.
Hmm.
So her collection is a little bit more curated than my collection is. And I think bigger isn't always better when it comes to the collecting, when you can curate it and have a little bit nicer pieces in your collection. So that's sort of where I'm going with mine, because I'll look at like my Boba Fett. I got a Boba Fett shelf with a bunch of loose stuff in it, and there's a bunch of random stuff. And as awesome as it is, I would like, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
maybe I could have spent money differently.
yeah.
Um, so what was I getting at? And so I totally went off track of where we were at. But no, and it is you, I, I don't know. I don't know if Hasbro is gonna be if we're abandoning Hasbro because of, like I just said, there's other toy lines out there that are giving us better Star Wars options.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But hey, do you know
I
what? To lighten the mood, unless you want to bring this to conclude,
no, I have one more little
one more
tidbit,
thing
but
and then
go
I'll
ahead.
lighten the mood.
You go
Go
ahead.
for it.
No, I
You
was
know what
doing
happened?
research. I was
Go
doing
ahead, do it.
research this week because Rich and I were talking when he was over. We were trying to figure out how Kenner came up with the names of the figures.
Uh-huh.
Hammerhead. You have Greedo, but he was named Greedo in the movie. Snaggletooth, and then Walrus Man. And he was saying it was the call sheet that called them those names that Kenner picked up on.
Uh-huh.
And so I went scouring the internet for call sheets, and I couldn't find the exact call sheet for the cantina. So I'm not done researching that. I don't know why I'm on this kick, but I am. And in the script itself, he's just called Creature.
Huh.
And in the script, there was, I think, Cabe, the little guy. I think this guy was supposed to be part of the twosome,
Uh-huh.
because it did say a little guy comes up next to them. But that was completely cut from the movie. And then Dr. Cornelius Evazan, he's known as the grubby human, and that's all the script calls him. So if Kenner were to make an action figure based on that from way back in the day, would he be called Grubby Human, or would he have been given a name like Scarface?
Yeah. I think they would have been Scarface, because I know, like with Forlom, they made that up on the fly.
Yeah,
So I would think Hasbro would have named him if they would
Kenner.
have taken the liberty to name him, and then Lucasfilm could have, amend them if they wanted to.
Yeah. So you were saying
You know
to
what
lighten the
happened?
mood?
You know what happened 7 years ago today, or what was happening 7 years ago today?
Celebration
Orlando.
Orlando,
Yeah.
7 years. Well, nothing good came from that.
No,
So
nothing at
the
all.
list no.
So that was like, for me, it was the start of my Star Wars journey, start of where we are now today, 7 years later. So it is special, and I'm envious of that time because everything was new to me and overwhelming. And it's hard to get back there.
Well, why did you go? Because it sounds like you weren't really like a Star Wars focus guy.
I was, I had a collection.
Oh,
I know, trust. No, as far as the journey, as far as starting the club and then starting the podcast and
yeah.
putting it together and focusing as far as becoming part of the community.
Yeah, it's
Um,
interesting because that's when I met Fonz for the first time and took a step into the community as well.
right. It was just like an opening of a whole new world.
Yeah,
Uh,
it really was.
yeah. So and yeah, no, I had a collection. It was just a very small collection, and then it turns into what it is today. Uh, I'm trying to think, did I live here? I don't know, but it went from being
Well, it had to have been if you knew Justin.
Yeah, no, I'm living in this house.
Oh, in this house. Sorry. I thought you meant here versus
No,
Nolans.
I've been in Georgia for 30 years.
Oh.
But no, my collection went from being a couple of shelves to being a room. And it was because of celebration and because of seeing people's collections and it was just an awesome time. And walking into a celebration for the first time and realizing there's a bunch of people that love Star Wars as much as you do was just an amazing time. And I'm kind of envious of that time because it's not to say it's a business is the wrong term, but we kind of treat it like a business because we have to,
Yeah.
And I'm not mad that we're doing it. Trust me, I love doing the podcast. I love doing the club. It's just you lose a little bit of the newness. But I think even if we weren't doing this, it would have lost a little bit of the newness because it's so much bigger. It's so much more of my world now.
Yeah, you just got to find the balance, I suppose.
Yeah, but
balance.
I can't wait for the next celebration to be in somewhere in the States. Hopefully.
Yeah, 5 years ago was Celebration Chicago, which is where I met TK and Orion for the first time.
Yeah.
And I met him in the swag room of all places, believe it or not.
Orion was in the swag room?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
He was like probably directing people in there too.
What I remember, he was in the middle of the room. So everything was kind of going around him.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I remember like I had just moved to Georgia and I joined the group and he was one of the more prominent people who post every day. He's got his daily dose.
Right.
And TK was doing like the weekly themes.
Yeah.
So I saw them pretty frequently. And so it was like, oh, I see you from the Facebook group. And Ryan's like, oh yeah, I'll see you around.
And little did you know.
Little did I know. It was the start of a beautiful, little did he know I was going to weasel my way to the top.
It was funny because I saw in my memories when it was Justin, John, and I started this podcast, the first post was like, hey, I started this podcast, and you had posted on it. I love the show. And I'm like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, it was a good show. You did better with guests than we do. You had the guy from Geeky Tiki's on.
Yeah.
Well, you had Christian on.
Yeah. It's different when you have people who know people, I mean, not that we don't know people, but
I know nothing.
Yeah. We don't know that caliber of people anymore.
I do know we have a great audience who listens to us.
Yes.
And to them, I say, thank you for listening to the Smugglers Galaxy podcast. If you could, please leave a like and a 5-star review of the show anywhere you listen to podcasts, if it's allowed. Really helps us out and points people to our show. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Send us an email or message us. We'd love feedback. We'd love to make you part of the show. Our email address is smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com. Thank you to Alfonso Riviera for the Smugglers Galaxy logo. And thank you to Levi Waterhouse for the music. People collect for the love of it. Hashtag vote with your wallet. Sabine will be on next week. Pass on what you've learned. Be a positive force in the collecting community. This is the way.